Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. The translations and purport to this chapter are by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay, verse number 9, I guess. So,
Yes, Mataji.
yes, in this chapter, Krishna speaks about how to attain the Supreme. To the questions that Arjuna has asked in the beginning, because Krishna has given few terms which are very new to Arjuna at the end of 7th chapter. So to answer these questions, Arjuna asks the questions in the beginning and Krishna starts to speak. And now he has explained about the Antakali also. He talked about the Adhyatma, Karma, Brahman, Adidaivam, Adibhutam, and Antakalam. So he spoke about all that. Now he's talking about the, let's see what he speaks. Kavim Puranam Anusashitaram Anoraniyam Sam Anusmaridya Sarvasya Dataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasach Parastat. Synonyms: Kavim, the one who knows everything; Puranam, the oldest; Anushasitaram, the controller; Anaho, then the atom; Aniyamsam, smaller; Anusmaret, always thinks of; Yaha, one who; Sarvasya, of everything; Dataram, the maintainer; Achintya, inconceivable; Rupam, whose form; Aditya Varnam, luminous like the sun; Tamasaha, to darkness; Parastat, transcendental, as Vishnu. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Purport. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of the person Rama and the person Krishna. And whether one thinks of Rama or of Krishna, what he is like is described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kavi, that is, he knows past, present, and future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of him. He is also the supreme controller of the universe, and is the maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is smaller than the smallest. The living entity is 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. But the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this particle. Therefore, he is called smaller than the smallest. As the Supreme, he can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as the super soul. Although so small, he is still all pervading and is maintaining everything. By him, all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word Achintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, Achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet he is beyond it. We cannot comprehend even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent persons avoiding useless argument and speculation should accept that is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding. Okay, I think this is previous to that verse 8, 8. One should meditate on the Supreme Lord, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me and debated. O Partha is sure to reach me. So he said that Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa Nanegamina in the previous verse, that one should meditate on Krishna with the training. We need to train our mind Abhyasam means constantly remembering, training our mind with the detachment and with attachment to Krishna and not being deviated from the path. Now he is explaining in the next verse how one should, who is that supreme person on which he should meditate. He is Kabim, he is Puranam, he is Anusashitaram, he is Anor, he is Aniyamsam, okay? Then he is Sarvasya, he is the Dataram, he is Achintya Rupam, Aditya Varnam. And yeah, so these are the different names in which he is that personality. One should think of him in these ways. You should think of him as is the oldest, one who is a controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is maintainer, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and is always a person. So such is the person who on whom we should be thinking. So anything that Krishna is that supreme controller, supreme and greatest person ever. He can be smaller than the smallest. Who can be smaller than the smallest? Smallest matter in this universe is atom. And he can be smaller than, and he is like that atom. He enters each and every atom also, right? As a super soul. So he is smaller than the smallest. He is greater than the greatest. So nobody can claim he is the greatest because Krishna is greater than that person also. So one should meditate on such person and is definitely a person. How can he be a non-person when he is someone like a tall, oldest, who's someone like greatest, who's someone like smallest, and who's a maintainer, controller? Is a person, and that he cannot be someone who is not a person who can be like this. He has to be a person, and he is a person. So one should think in terms of the names that we know of, like Krishna, Rama, and also meditate on his form. Also, it is said that he is Kavi. Kavi means, Kavim generally means one who knows everything, past, present, and futures. So that is Kavi. So such is that person on whom we should meditate. Okay. We'll move to the next verse, 8, 10. Yeah, Sundarangi Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my pranam. Just Shlokata. Bhagavad Gita 8.10. प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगाबलेन चैव भूर्भुर्मध्ये प्रणाम अभीस्य सम्यक् सातं परं पुरुषम् उपायति दिव्यम्. Synonyms: Prayana Kale, at the time of death; Manasa, by the mind; Achalena, without its being deviated; Bhaktya, in full devotion; Yuktaha, engaged; Yoga Balena, by the power of mystic yoga; Cha, also; Eva, certainly; Bhrubhoho, the two eyebrows; Madhye, between; Pranam, the life air; Avhesya, establishing; Samyak, completely; Saha, he; Tam, that; Param, transcendental; Purusham, personality of Godhead; Upa iti, achieves; Divyam, in the spiritual kingdom. Translation: one who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: in this verse it is clearly stated that at the time of death the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Agyan chakra. The practice of such chakra yoga involving meditation on the sixth chakra is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness at death, he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Satchakra yoga or Bhakti yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Thank you, Mataji. Hari Krishna.
So further, after remembering that person who is the oldest, who is the Kavi, now and all that we just heard, now one should fix their mind at the time of death. This is especially Prayana Kale. At the time of death, one should fix their mind between the eyebrows, because that's where the Agnya Chakra, there are 6 or 7 chakras in the body at all the prominent positions in the body. So Agnya Chakra comes to that where the third eye is there, where they say. Where they say there is a third eye. So that's where the Agnya Chakra is there. So one should remember, put their concentration on that mind. One should put their concentration on that place between the eyebrows, by the strength of yoga, and without the deviation of the mind, engage himself remembering of the Supreme Lord in full devotion. So that is how one can meditate upon the Lord. But for a pure devotee, devotional service, we are not been taught that one should meditate using these chakras. One should concentrate on these chakras, because that's something, but it can be employed in the service of the Lord. If something can enhance our devotion, we can definitely use it in the devotional service. Like only by itself, if you want to activate your chakras in the body, what is the purpose? To live longer, to be happy, and do you do yoga, slim down, or become more successful in life? If those are your motivations for doing this kind of yoga, then it is materialistic, and it is not recommended. People still do, but in the bhakti process, it is not recommended. But if you can use these processes of activating the chakras in the service of the Lord, like if you activate these chakras, it will help you to develop more energy in the body, so you can develop Krishna, perform more bhakti, and it will help you to concentrate more while chanting the holy name of the Lord. All the, if it can improve your health overall, so you can do devotional service with energy and serve more. If those are your motivations, then you can definitely employ these processes of yoga. Different yogas are there. So that is what is recommended. So one should concentrate his mind on that eyebrows, and by the strength of the yoga, one should concentrate on the Supreme Lord. Then only it will be possible. Otherwise, it will not be possible, because one may think we will do at the end of the life when we become old, but it is not possible. What you practice during your young age, that is what will come to you at the old age. Otherwise, whatever is your impressions that you have created, habits are very hard to. And what to say of developing a habit at the time in the old age? Old age is not the time where habits are developed. Very, very rarely it can happen. But old age is the time when these habits become even more matured, and they won't go away. That is how the old age is. So habits happen during the young age. That's why children, we tell them they need to develop good habits, so that they can cultivate that in their life, throughout their life. Okay, 8:11. Yadaksharam veda vido vadanti vishanti yadyattatyo vitaragaha yaddichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe. Yat, that which, Aksharam, syllable Om, Veda Vida, persons conversant with the Vedas, Vadanti, say, Vishanti, enter, Yat, in which Yatayaha, great sages, Vitaragaha, in the renounced order of life, Yat, that which, Ichantaha, desiring, Brahmacharyam, celibacy, Charanti, practice, Tat, that, Te, unto you, Padam, situation, Sangrahena, in summary, Pravakshe, I shall explain. Translation. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly describe to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Purport. Lord Shri Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Satchakra Yoga, in which one places the air of life between the eyebrows. Taking it for granted that Arjuna might not know how to practice Satchakra Yoga, the Lord explains the process in the following verses. The Lord says that Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features, especially for the impersonalists. The Akshara or Omkara, the syllable Om, is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explains the impersonal Brahman, into which renounced order of sages enter. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living with the spiritual, a master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize two of Brahman's features. This practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But at the moment, such brahmachari, unmarried celibate life is not possible at all. Is not at all possible. The social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of once practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in brahmachari principles. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali, that in this age, no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this process, it is said that um, this particular verse talks about the uttering of the Omkara. And usually who chant Om is those sages who are in the renounced order of life. And to chant Om also, it is a very, it is not a 1 year's qualification. To chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, no qualification is needed. You can be in any type of situation. Only thing is you need to just chant. That is the only qualification. If you are having faith and if you are able to chant, that itself is a qualification to chant. But to chant Om, there is a lot of prerequisites which is needed, which is one should be a Brahmana, one should be serving a guru, being celibate as a brahmachari, like that. So the guru teaches all these intricate details of this Vedic process, and that's how the disciple makes perfection or progress. But it is not needed for chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Prabhupada concludes this particular purport saying that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the Yoga Dharma rather than chanting Om. Om is not chanting Yoga Dharma, it is an impersonal aspect of the Lord. Whereas Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a personal aspect. We are actually calling out Krishna, Rama, and the internal potency Srimati Radharani. So it's a very, very personal. And Om is an indirect chanting of the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but it is indirect. It is impersonal aspect of the Lord. So that is what. And what Krishna is saying, he is going to explain this process by which one can obtain salvation from here onwards. So let's see what he says in the next verse. Mataji, please read. Sundarangi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, 8.12. Sarvadvarani samyamya manoruddhi niruddhya cha murdhani adha adhayatmanaha pranama asti to yoga dharanam. Synonyms: Sarva dwarani, all the doors of the body. Samyamya, controlling. Manaha, the mind. Rudhi, in the heart. Nirudhya, confining. Cha, also. Murdhini, on the head. Adhaya, ya, fixing. Atmanaha, of the soul. Pranam, the life air. Astitaha, situated in. Yoga dharnam, the yogic situation. Translation: the yogic situation is that of the detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. purport. To practice yoga is suggested here, one first has to close the door of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense object. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the super soul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the sixth chapter, this process is described in detail. But as mentioned above, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one always able to fix his mind on Krishna devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
So the yogic situation is that one has to detach first, like qualification. This is a qualification that one has to be detached. That is, you need to stop all the enjoyment. Like there are 8 processes of yoga that we have learned earlier in the 5th and 6th chapters, like yama, niyama, asana, dharana, dhyana, dharana, dhyana, pratyahara, pratyahara, and samadhi comes at the end, but there are 8 in between. So pratyahara is that which is don't, like withdrawing, like don'ts. You need to withdraw from your enjoyment. Otherwise, yoga is not possible. Yoga is to link with the Lord. If you are agitated in your desires, how will you link? Right? So uh, one has to calm down from the sense objects and sense enjoyment. So everything should be controlled, and then one should engage. One should not engage in sense gratification. So this is how the process starts: closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and life air at the top of the head. That is the process. It is already explained in the 6th chapter. Krishna is bringing, because this is has to be. He's talking about the antakali, right? How to uh, meditate on the Lord at the time of death. So all these are the practices. If we practice this, then that comes at the end of the life. So he's building this knowledge one upon the other to urge Arjuna to continue with his duties. Okay, we'll go to the next. 13. Omiti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mamanushaman anusmaran yaprayati tajjan deham sayati paramam gatim. Om, the combination of syllable om, letters om, omkara, iti, thus, eka aksharam, the one syllable, Brahma, absolute, Vyaharan, vibrating, Mam, make, Krishna, Anusmaran, remembering, Yaha, anyone who, Prayati, leaves, Tajan, quitting, Deham, this body, Saha, he, Yati, achieves, Paramam, the supreme, Gatim, destination. Translation. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Purport. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is clearly recommended for the sage. So if one quits his body at the end of life chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practice. The devotees of Krishna enter Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavan. For the personalists, there are also innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti. So this is again, it's continuing on the topic that after being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the syllable sacred Om, the supreme combination of letters, one thinks of the Supreme Lord, and he can quit his body. He will reach if he quits his body by thinking of Krishna, by practicing some austerity of stopping all the sense enjoyment and meditating on the Omkara, which is an impersonal aspect of the Lord, and he quits his body thinking in that way, remembering Lord in that way, he will reach the spiritual planet. But Prabhupada talks in a different way in the purport, because our destination is not reaching some spiritual planet such as Brahmajyoti. Our target, our destination to reach is to go to Goloka Vrindavan. So for such aspirants um, who want to go to Goloka Vrindavan, they should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And Prabhupada has very clearly said the chanting of Hare Krishna is recommended for this age. And Krishna's sound of is also present in Om. So if you say Hare Krishna, you're also doing Om also. But Om is an indirect representation. So that's what. This is how he is telling how to leave one's body. Right? Yeah. Sundarangi Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smarati nityasaha tasya aham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Synonyms: Ananya chetaha, without deviation of the mind; satatam, always; yaha, anyone who; mam, me Krishna; smarati, remembers; nityasaha, regularly; tasya, to him; aham, I am; Sulabhaha, very easy to achieve; Partha, Usanapruta, Nitya, regularly; Yuktasya, engaged; Yoginaha, for the devotee. Translation: For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pruta, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport: this verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: karma yoga, gnana yoga, and hatha yoga. The principles of this yoga system have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of gnana, karma, or hatha. As indicated by the word ananya chetaha, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planet, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyotir, or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Niskama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a Gnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interest. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for everyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations such as Rama and Nrsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, He is especially inclined towards those who always serve Him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways, as stated in the Vedas. Katha Upanishada 1.2.23 Yam eva isa brunute tena labhyas tasye isa atma vibrutnote tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as He is. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so the ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavana or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavana by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan," as indicated by the words Satatam and Nitya Saha, which means always, regularly, or every day. A pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are the qualification of the pure devotees for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Santa Bhakta engaged in devotional service in neutrality, Dasya Bhakta engaged in devotional service as servant, Sakya Bhakta engaged as friend, Vatshalya Bhakta engaged as parent, and Madhurya Bhakta engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. Hmm, in any of these ways, the pure devotees is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord, and so for him the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessings of Krishna, conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
It's a very big purport. So Krishna is saying, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. It's only like, if you do as a practice, for students also, when they practice to study, for them it becomes easy. They can develop the knowledge and writing exams become easy. Similarly, if we remember Krishna throughout our practice of devotional service without any deviation, Krishna is easily remembered. And even if the devotee forgets, Krishna gives them that understanding by which they can come to him. In Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. So even sometimes we may lose intelligence, but because we have done devotional service with full meditation, with full concentration, and without any deviation, Krishna will give us that intelligence by which we can go to him. So there are various ways in which a devotee is engaged. Krishna Prabhupada talks about the 5 rasas in which the devotee engages in devotional service, which we all know. One is the Santa rasa, like neutrality; Dasya rasa, that of servitorship; Sakya is that of friendship; Vatsalya is parenthood; then Madhurya is the conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In these ways, a pure devotee is constantly engaged in serving the Lord. But more importantly, is a pure devotee does not forget Krishna at any moment. He always remembers Krishna and never forgets Krishna. That's the greatest injunction. First of all, we should all follow. Always remember Krishna and never. This called Nisheda and opposite of Nisheda. I'm forgetting that Sanskrit word. But yeah, we need to remember always Krishna and never forget Krishna. These are the 2 things that is only required for us to do. So that's a great blessing of Krishna consciousness movement by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. These verses have the similar theme. And Krishna is talking to Arjuna about how one can fix his mind on the Supreme Lord and always remember him. That will be possible at the time of death. Yeah, this is another famous verse. Debbie, can you read?
Yes, Mataji. Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam na anuvati mahatmana samstidam hi Parama Gataha. Synonyms: mum, me, upetya, achieving, punya, again, janma, birth, dukkha, alayam, places of miseries, ashavastam, temporary, never, apnuvati, attain, maha atmana, the great souls, sam siddham, perfection, param, ultimate, gata, having achieved. Translation: after attaining me, the great souls, who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Purport: since this temporary material world is full of miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishna Lok, Golok, Vrindavan, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literatures as Avyakta and Akshara and Param Gati. In other words, that planet is beyond our material vision. It is inexplicable, but it is the highest goal, the destination for the Mahatmas, great souls. The Mahatmas receive transcendental message from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls.
Right. So after remembering Krishna in that way, the process that is explained to concentrate between the mind, with the life air in between the eyebrows, and always thinking on that personality who is the greater and the greatest, and following all these like bringing the all the entire life energy into the chakras and performing these do's and don'ts. And if you can remember Krishna, where do we go? By doing all that, by practicing and remembering Krishna at the time of death. These souls, they will go to that supreme planet from which they will never come back. And this is a very famous verse where every most devotees quote, what is this world called as? This world is called as Dukkalayam and Ashashvatam. This is a famous verse that talk about the miseries of this material world. It is Dukkha Alayam. Dukkha means miseries. Alayam is a place. Dukkhalayam. Ashashvatam. Shashvatam means permanent. Ashashvatam means temporary. So this place of misery is Dukkhalayam and Ashashvatam. So even if you try to do anything, any plans to make it comfortable, at the end it is still Dukkhalayam. One place you are making it perfect, the other place is becoming imperfect somehow. That balance is maintained all the time. You want to perfect one aspect, for example, you want to do more in your school, more in your job, put more your energy there. Now what happens? The personal life may get disturbed. Health may disturb because you're putting so much of effort in the work. Relationships may become disturbed. So that balance gets maintained. Whether you are doing something good, something else will become not so good. But for Krishna, or when for Krishna, everything becomes perfect. When Krishna does something, whether you are doing this activity or that activity, everything becomes positive. Everything becomes perfect. So that is how his place is also. His place is at perfection, place of perfection. So whatever he does, and devotees go to that place where it is full perfection by chanting and remembering Krishna at the time of death. Whereas this place is exactly opposite to it. That is why it said that this material world is a perverted reflection. It is a reflection. Looks like there is a place, here is also a place. There is some happiness, there is a reflection of happiness. There is relationships. We have some relationships which are usually not perfect relationships, not ideal relationships. So we have everything of that world because that is how it's a reflection. It's not the real thing. The real thing is what we see. And what we see in the mirror is a reflection of what is the reality, right? So supreme spiritual planet, spiritual world is a reflection, is the reality, and the material world is a reflection of that reality. So that's why this material world is temporary, because why is it temporary? That is because it's constantly changing. It like the material world itself by itself is existing all the time, but like the seasons change, the situations change. That's why it is temporary. That's why it is ashashvatam. We may have money today, we may not have money tomorrow. Uh, like, you know, like that. So it is temporary in that sense. But the world will continue to exist. That material situation will be there, but it will be changing a lot, constantly changing. That's why it is ashashvatam. And it is dukhalayam because there is no happiness. Perfect happiness is not there. Like I said, one place you are trying to improve, the other place become bad, imperfect. That's why it is dukhalayam and ashashvatam. But the great souls who are meditating upon the Lord, who go to his spiritual planet, which is full of perfection, highest perfection. There is no imperfections at all. Paramam gataha it is. That is because they'll go to that highest perfection place. So the devotees go to that place. That's what Krishna is telling. Let's do one more. Brahmabhuvanalokaha punaravartino arjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Brahma Bhuvanat, up to the Brahmaloka planet, Lokaha, the planetary systems, Punaha, again, Avartinaha, returning, Arjuna, O Arjuna, Maman to me, Upetya, arriving, tu but, Kauntaya, O son of Kunti, Puna Janma, rebirth, na never, Vidyate takes place. Translation. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness or the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Baladev Vidyabhushan, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, quotes this verse. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratishanchare parasyante kritatmanaha pravishanti param padam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Okay, very beautiful verse. This verse is after explaining that this place is Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam. Krishna explains that in the material world, we have 14 planetary systems. 7 up, 7 downwards. The up one starting from Earth, Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Jalaloka, Tapaloka, Maharloka, and Brahmaloka, going upwards. Downwards is Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, and Patala. 14 down. 7 down, 7 up. So this is the structure of our universe, where Brahma resides on that Brahmaloka, the topmost planetary systems, right? So from this entire places, 14 systems, it is place of misery, because there is repeatedly birth and death take place. So on the earth, people do devotional service. If they perfect, then, and perfection in the sense they're making progress. They're making progress. Maybe not perfection. They have made progress. So they will be given birth. And in the 6th chapter, we have read that one who has unaccomplished, or one who has not completed his devotion, he'll be given chance to take birth in better families, better situations, so that he can continue from there, rather than struggling for existence, like just for food and stuff. Where is a question he'll perform devotional service? Because he has accrued some merits of devotional service, in the next life he'll be given a better chance to continue from there. So like that, the persons on the earth may go to next higher planet, Bhuvarloka, Swaraloka, Swargaloka, where the very, very opulent lifestyle. There, if you forget Krishna, then we have to come down. Shine Punya, now Krishna tells about what happens once you go up, you will come down. That going up and coming down perpetually happens. It keeps happening until we perfect that process of going up. Keep going up. That means when you have reached the next planet, which is better than this planet, there also we should do devotion service, so that we keep going up and up. Otherwise, we'll keep gliding down and down and down. So when we go up, then finally, at the end of Brahma's lifetime, which is 312 trillion years, it's not 1 or 2 years, it's not even 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 years, it's trillions of years. That is 312 trillion years of Brahma's life. That is his 100 years in his calculation. In our calculation, it is 312 trillion years. In Brahma's calculation, it's still 100 years. He lives 100 years. So at the end of the life, if we keep doing, we may reach to Brahmaloka at some point. After that also, even in the Brahmaloka's place, Brahma along with associates, if he is engaged in devotion service, at the end of his annihilation of this universe, he'll go back to Godhead. Otherwise, Brahma will come back in some form into the material world. Maybe as Brahma, may not be as Brahma. If Brahma becomes disqualified, that particular person will not become Brahma again in the next life. He'll come down to a next level. Someone else who is more qualified than that person will become Brahma. If nobody is there, Lord Krishna comes as Brahma. That is also said in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is how this process, this place is misery. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna. Mamupete kaunteya punarjanmanvite. So this entire material world lowest to the highest. Repetition of birth and death take place, repeated. But one who goes to Krishna's abode, no birth, no death. He has matured his devotional service. That's what Krishna is doing. So we can pause here. Yeah, and how the Brahma's lifetime, we'll explain that next time. Brahma's lifetime. Very interesting. From 17, we'll go there. Any questions or any comments? Any reflections?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danva Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, when we say one kalpa, like, for Brahma, then it's like, 1 day of that Brahma's life, then plus the Sandhya Kal, right? 15 Sandhya Kal.
12
in that.
hours of his day, 12 hours of his night.
Yeah, and that Sandhya Kal is also there. No, Sandhya Kal is a time period of one Dwapar Loka.
Vapara?
Dwapar time period? Dwapar Yuga?
No, that is what we'll cover next week.
Okay.
We'll cover that next week, Mataji. It's a big topic, like numbers will be too many, mind-boggling. We'll eat up some more time. I just want this time. Next week that will be because that's what it says. Brahma's kalpa, and what is on that calculation Prabhupada is given. We'll discuss that. But do you have anything from this 4 verses, 5 verses that we read?
You explained very nicely, Mataji. Everything is like, understanding. This one, and I know 18.6 has to memorize also. But just paying attention to this.
18.6?
18.16. Memorize word for the Bhakti Shastri.
18.6 or
8.16.
8.6? Okay, okay. What is that?
Brahma Bhuvan Loka.
Okay.
The one you did just now.
16 or 6?
Mataji, 16. The one you did
16.
just now.
Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. That one. Okay, okay, good. Yeah, you can memorize that. It's a memorization verse. Previous, that is also important, like Dukkalayama Shashvatam verse and Abhavana Purana. It's quoted so much everywhere, in every lecture. Many devotees quote it. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Mamupetya Kaunteya Pura Janmana Likyate. Yes.
It's so deep, Mataji. Every time you try to understand, so so much is there.
Yeah.
I know, pura lifetime bit nikal jayega, then also it's so deep.
Everywhere, yeah. Step. And this is still Bhagavad Gita, they say it's a preliminary study. These are basics for us to understand the bhakti process. These are basics only. Because as we go deeper into Srimad Bhagavatam, next stage, it's prayers, it's so many stories, extraordinary stories. They are not like simple stories. They are mind-boggling stories. To understand that, we need to have complete faith on the process. This is that knowledge, our relationship with the Lord. To know that, we need to have this basic understanding. Still basic, that's what they say. Prabhupada only said, Bhagavad Gita is ABCD up to 10th grade. And Bhagavatam is graduation. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is post-graduation. So it's like building upon the knowledge. Yeah. But this itself is so huge and so vast to understand. Repeated reading only will get to know something of it. Repeated read. We just read it as one time, it will just go like that only, from one place to the other.
Yeah, Mataji. And why, Mataji, why Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered to be higher than the Bhagavatam? Like the understanding, point of understanding?
Because Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotees are having personal relationship with him. And Bhagavatam is also like that. But it is more relatable because it's Lord's internal activities. Bhagavatam also has Lord's internal activities, mostly about devotees, their relationship with the Lord, like devotees' activities, Bhagavatam. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is the Lord's activities, his mind, like how he has performed these pastimes. What is there, what goes on his mind to perform such pastimes? It's like next level of understanding, right?
Yeah.
That's its highest.
Like yoga ladder, going up and step by step.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
level,
they may bewilder us sometimes, the pastimes of the Lord. Oh my God, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing? What is this pastimes? Until we have understood the process of bhakti fully, they become very bewildering. And
Yeah.
Chaitanya Charitamrita is still like a textbook. Like it's not too much of that esoteric topics. It's still textbook. First canto or the Adi Leela is fully like full textbook. Basically, it's very, very comprehensive. So you need to have that basic, that knowledge to understand Lord's pastimes. So it's recommended to read by all of us. But for devotees, we can go step by step and read.
And the Mataji Chaitanya Bhagavatam is like little bit of small version of Charitamrita, right? It's like one condensed.
Chaitanya Charitamrita is textbook. Like it's college study. Look, you can read, comprehension is there. Like Canto 1, Adi Leela, like I said, it's mostly the philosophical based. So it's very comprehensive. So that way, it puts us straight in our place. Like to understand Lord Chaitanya, it's not that simple. We need to go understand the process very well. Chaitanya Bhagavat is mostly pastimes, and it is written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and he just wrote from his whatever came into his heart. Whatever happened, he wrote, but whatever came in his mind and heart, he didn't restrict himself. Okay, what if readers read this? What will they happen if it become like too much of bewilderment, like they haven't what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing? A devotee of Lord Chaitanya only can understand Chaitanya Bhagavat. But Chaitanya Charitamrita, we all can read. We can become students and read it. It's like mostly like a textbook. At least the Canto 1, Adi Leela.
Bhagavatam is condensed form or what, Mataji? Not Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat.
No, it's not condensed. It is the internal early pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. A different author has written, different
Okay.
flavor. It's not condensed. This is not Chaitanya Charitamrita.
And
Author is different.
little Leela further right. Okay. After he took sannyas, right? In the
No,
Charitam.
these are early pastimes.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Yes, Mataji. So I don't know how Prabhupada, so much. I mean, it's amazing. It's a Paramahansa, right? He can only do these things.
Yeah.
For us to even read little bit, memorize it, and that is also very tough. Understanding is also very, 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 it's very tough.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, in that one of the words after many births and death, one who surrender unto me knows that I am the cause of all causes. Can
Very
like
good.
you know that's very Muhammad is very rare. So those kind of things only for the rare of people. Mahatmas only can achieve that.
Yeah.
About otherwise we are in the birth and death cycle all the time. This 14 lokas to reach to the Brahma loka is totally it's a we are earth way, that is a very highest. So many austerities and things going the karma and all.
Right.
But thank you, Mataji. I appreciate. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much Mataji for the wonderful class. Yes Mataji, without Srila Prabhupada's purport, it is very very difficult to understand the deep meaning, Mataji. Yes, and today in the verses you said whatever we will practice in our early age, that thing only we can remember at the end of the means at the that those things only will come to our mind at the end. And habit is the main, so we have to cultivate the habit of chanting Hare Krishna from a very early age. And you said devotees, our goal is to reach to go to Golak Vrindavan, means to Krishna Loka, back to Godhead, so that we can, how can we do? By chanting Hare Krishna and by remembering him continuously. That will come, then at the end it will come to our mind. Then you said the five kind of relation devotees should always engage in the devotional service in the five rasas, like the purport, in the purport it was mentioned. Yes Mataji. So generally the devotees, we do the servant mood, right Mataji?
Mhm.
Dasya rasa means generally we do our devotional service in Dasya rasa, right Mataji?
So,
No.
yeah. See, if we keep doing it, our rasa will be revealed to us. Initially, we are all servants of the Lord. We should consider Lord as we cannot consider Lord as our friend and serve him in the deity form, because we have not developed that much qualification. So we should be in the mood of servant only to do our service. But Prabhupada said, even though they are Radha Krishna, we should worship them in the form of Lakshmi Narayana with awe and reverence. Awe and reverence is that when they will not feel that familiarity. That familiarity should not come to us. That, oh, Krishna is my friend, he's my lover, and I can do whatever he like. Like that, we should not think. We should be very very respectful, awe and reverence. That's what it is. So in every rasa there is servitorship is there, in every rasa, except for neutrality also maybe servitorship is there, but all the other rasas like dasya, sakya, vatsalya and madhurya, servitorship is a servant mood is a basic mood in all the rasas. But as we keep doing, we will develop a relationship with the Lord. For us, the starting point is that, but that's not the end point. We can go on to any level to become a friend of Krishna, Vatsalya in the parenthood of Krishna, or even the conjugal lover. Our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us the topmost rasa, which is the Madhurya rasa. He's teaching that. That's our aspiration, that's our goal. But in every rasa, there is servitorship. You need to serve in the mood of servant only to go to that level source.
Thank you, Mataji. And in one purport, it was written, Mataji, there are several, means if we will do continuously follow the process, then we can reach to one of the spiritual planets. So are there, Golak Vrindavan is only the one, right, Mataji, or there are more spiritual planets, Mataji?
Oh, there are many spiritual planets. Goloka Vrindavan is the topmost planet, and there are many Vaikuntha planets. Many. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how many. Like, can I say unlimited? I don't know if I can say that. But if you take the one unit as the entire creation, which is divided between material and spiritual world, material world is just 1/4 of it. Material entire creation. Our universe is one of the universes. Like that, there are numerous universes. So all that combined is just 1/4, and the rest 3/4 is the spiritual world. And that's like 3/4. Like you take one number, for example, if you quarter is only material world, out of which our universe is just one portion, like one universe. Like there are, you can call it as unlimited material universe. If this is 1/4, what to speak of 3/4? 3/4 is the spiritual world, and there are even more spiritual planets, even more Vaikuntha planets, where Lord Vishnu resides.
Okay, Mataji.
Mataji, stop. There are Vaikuntha planets. There are many Vaikuntha planets. And out of this, all the Vaikuntha planets, the topmost is the Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna resides. So
Yes, Mataji.
other Vishnu incarnations are there in the other spiritual planets. According to
So,
one, they'll go to that place.
Mataji, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first page, the picture, there it is written, right, Mataji, in the left side, the description of the front paper. It is written, Prabhupada has written in the left side. So there also he has written, in every planet there will be one deity. Means one specific deity. So those are spiritual planets, or those are those person who get impersonal perfection, right? No.
These are planets. These are where Lord Vishnu resides. These are all people who have done devotional service, unlimited devotional service, in the mode of Lakshmi Narayana, Vishnu, like
Bhisma Dev has at the end, when he left his body, he remembered to Parthasarathi form. So he has gone to there. In one of the purport, it was written.
Right. Yes.
So he has gone to one spiritual planet, right?
Correct. One spiritual planet. Goloka Vrindavan is where Lord Krishna resides with his associates, Radharani and Gopas and Gopis, and Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. That is spiritual Goloka Vrindavan. In other places, Lord Vishnu resides, and lot of devotees all constantly glorify him. Constantly. There's not even 1 second they'll stop from glorification. Constantly they are glorifying the Lord. They're all pujas, grand celebrations. Like how we do festivals, we just do festivals once in a year. Each festival comes once in a year. We do many festivals like that. How in the festival time there's so much of grandeur, so much of celebration, so much of chanting, kirtan, like everyone is happy. Like that in this spiritual world, constantly. No 1 second is lost in doing anything else other than glorifying the Lord. Constant celebration, constant dancing, constant chanting, recitation, something. It's a celebration all the time. That's how in the spiritual world it is.
So
And
those spiritual planet, Mataji, those are also the destination of the devotee. Means devotees, after doing lot of devotional service, they go to those planets, Mataji. Is that true?
In
Or
their
they
mood,
go to...
in their mood. Like if they are Vishnu worshippers, doing all
Oh, okay,
this
okay.
chanting, remembering
Mm.
of Vishnu's names, they'll go to that planet. Those planets.
Okay.
Like the only ISKCON people are not devotees, right? In the entire world, there are a lot of devotees of Vishnu who are performing devotional service, reciting so many pujas, so much of Vedic study, so much of recitation of the mantras and chanting of the japa of Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya or Jai Shriman Narayana. Like lot of various mantras they chant. So if they are constantly, if they perfect their life, then they go to such planets where these Vishnu forms are worshipped. That are
So
suitable
from
to
there
their.
also they can come back, or no, Mataji? That their life means birth and death
There's no
cycle
that.
ends there.
That's what Krishna is telling, right? Earlier we read,
Okay.
once you come to my planet, I mean, he's telling about his planet, but then he is Vishnu also. Lord Krishna is the highest form of like Vishnu only, right? Krishna and Vishnu are same. Krishna's mood is to become a cowherd boy, play in Vrindavan. That is his mood. And Vishnu forms is taking all the worship from the devotees. So he's also, so there's no birth, there's no coming back. Once you come to my abode, you will not return. That's what he said, right? In this material world, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Vachana. Mamupetya tu kaunteya Punarjanma na vidyate. There's no Punarjanma. Once you come to my spiritual abode, Vishnu or Krishna,
Okay, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Okay.
there's no birth
Yes, yes.
after coming.
But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the Golakara Premadhana, Nama Sankirtana.
Golokera
Lokas.
Premadhana, Hari Nama Sankirtana. So we are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are other sampradayas who are following other forms of Vishnu. We are following Lord Krishna, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. So our destination is Golokara.
Okay, nice, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we started. Okay, we'll start at 7:30 if that suits too many devotees. Looks like 7 p.m. is little.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, we'll start at 7:30 going forward. Yeah, that way. Many devotees can join. Okay. Thank you. So we will not do the chanting today. You can do on your own for today. We'll stop here. Okay. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyascha bhaktana bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.